This weird discovery is intriguing researchers as well as other recent findings. Are you curious to know more about these bones here? So drop your like below, because today I'm going to show you the unbelievable discoveries that were made recently. I'm Tiago Tadeo, and welcome to the Upside Down. The year of 1945 was very remarkable for the human race for several reasons. One of them occurred on June 16th, when for the first time in history, a nuclear test was carried out. On American soil, scientists and military personnel exploded the first atomic bomb in a controlled area in New Mexico. It is not necessary to dwell much on this event. After all, we know exactly the effects it caused, right? On a smaller scale here, guys, we can also recognize how the explosion of this bomb changed the world's view on the consumption of electric energy. After all, on that day began what we now know as the atomic age. What not everyone knows is that the test known as the Trinity experiment created a completely strange object, a new material formed by the impact of the nuclear bomb, its components, and the 30 meters high tower used. However, the discovery of this object did not take place immediately after the tests, but only 35 years after that explosion. Called trinitite, it is very rare to find the component in nature. That's because it does not form under the usual conditions of our planet. For this object to emerge, a large amount of pressure and other extreme conditions that only a nuclear bomb could cause are needed. The problem with this unbelievable and late discovery is that it makes evident the lack of knowledge we have about nuclear issues. None of the scientists at the time imagined that a new material could have emerged from it. Even after almost 80 years after the first test, we still don't know exactly what this new element means. Does trinitite have any use for us? Could it cause any damage to the local ecosystem? Was it the only component formed in that explosion? Well, these are some questions that still haven't been answered clearly. According to the article published on Los Alamos National Laboratory's website, a research center that studies the elements, observing trinitite can make us think about the use of nuclear energy beyond the dangers we know, only thinking of Chernobyl. Are there other unknown risks that we would only be aware of when it was too late then? Well, better not to think about it, right? Now, if a new object made by human action doesn't seem unbelievable enough of a discovery, how about we travel to French soil in search of a lost city? In October of 2020, experts from the French National Institute for Preventive Archaeological Research discovered something unbelievable: a city formed back in the Stone Age. Recapitulating a bit the history of mankind, our species stopped being nomadic during the phase of the agricultural revolution. We came to realize that planting was a much safer means of livelihood than traveling the world in search of food. With that, we became sedentary and built cities so that we could settle down. All of this took place in the Neolithic period, also known as the New Stone Age. Back to the discovery in France. The city found by experts has archaeological artifacts that date back to this period. That is, it can be as old as the date when the first men started to settle in just one place. It's pretty crazy how we imagine a city, how our species formed civilizations, having a place to lay down roots, build families, and everything else, isn't it? But remember that back then, it wasn't like that. People migrated because they ran out of food and plants in the space they were, so it was much easier to look for a new one. Well, at least in people's minds back then, right? However, guys, other findings in the lost city have made it a landmark, quite literally. Members of the Institute believe that the city was inhabited for about 5,000 years uninterrupted. What a difficult word, right? But that is without ever being empty. Its last inhabitants probably were direct descendants of the first humans who founded the city. It's as if I created a city today, and by the year, I don't know, 7021, it was still standing. Just so you know, this is a rare fact, okay? After all, Many things can lead to the abandonment of a region. It could be, I don't know, overnatural things, fighting. Things happen, right? For the sake of comparison, the oldest city in Brazil is less than 500 years old, while the city of Byblos in Lebanon, which is considered the oldest city in the world, dates from 5000 BC. While in France, they found an extremely ancient city in the Mediterranean Sea. A discovery has impressed scientists from all over the world. Giant bones were spotted at the bottom of the sea, and no one knows yet for sure which animal it belongs to. Being more than 30 meters long, the giant skeleton scared its discoverer, Deborah Hatswell, scientist and paranormal researcher. According to Deborah in an interview with the Daily Star, she searched about the animals that lived in the Mediterranean. None of them matched the date on the bones found on the seabed. All were smaller than 30 meters, and none of them had the same characteristics. Among the main animals compared were, of course, whales, oarfish, which I've already spoken about here in the channel, and sea snakes. The discovery was made in 2017, but it was only recently disclosed by Deborah. Not knowing who else to turn to, she shared a video of what she had found on YouTube in an attempt to get more theories about that skeleton. With that, it ended up being shared in several news channels around the planet. Some people theorized in the comments on the video platform that it could be, I don't know, the spine of a giant shark. This happened because in the image there is no skull, and this happens a lot with fish remains as well. The head part was made mostly of cartilage and it decomposes very quickly. Well, that would also explain why in the video, the mechanical arm kind of crumbles the vertebra when trying to grab it, right? Unfortunately, it turned to dust in the water. But this is it, guys. The video will end here. Leave it in the comments what you thought about these discoveries. Don't forget that tomorrow there will be more. We'll see each other in the next video. So until then,